Majesties, distinguished laureates, ladies and gentlemen, I'm especially touched by the fact that almost 50 years ago, at the very beginning of my film career, again in Spain, I was granted the Concha de Oro Prize at the San Sebastian Film Festival in 1967. So these two milestones define my creative career, and always in Spain. Suspended between these two important occasions, I find myself filled with many of the same emotions and ambitions I had at the age of 27. I continue to desire to explore the future possibilities of this absolutely magical form of literature, the cinema. Beginning as I did between two influences of Hollywood movie making and the exciting cinema from Europe and Japan during the 1950s, I and other of my generation were doubly inspired. Hollywood movie making as the world's most influenced entertainment form, as in the work of William Wyler, Hitchcock, Wilder, King Vidor, and many other greats, colliding with another cinema form aimed more as literature, illuminating contemporary life with authorship and artistry and expanding boundaries, as in the work of Ingmar Bergman, Akira Kurosawa, Fellini, Rossellini, and Buñuel. That mix of two extremes of the cinema proposition inspired all of my generation, and we tried to do both. Can art also serve as entertainment, as defined by these two currents? And we felt yes, certainly, that has always been the goal. Thousands of years ago, at the birth of drama, the audiences were both thrilled and enlightened as they watched the ideas and forms evolving, leaving them in a state of awe. Even now, the cinema, little more than 100 years old, is changing and moving in directions not quite revealed to us, but which we long to try to experiment with. We remain cinema pioneers as we push forward to a time when our children and grandchildren inherit our beloved cinema and change it beyond our ability to imagine. All performing art is a creation and byproduct of technology. At the very beginning, that technology was fire, which illuminated the scenes or pictures as our first ancestors made by the charred wooden stick which stirred the fire. There were many technological steps following: the mechanical stage machines and lighting devices changing into the moving image, distant electric vision, and ultimately combined with sound and color. Always, any technological improvement is always first used as pornography, but then storytelling comes immediately after. Now the cinema covers all the territories of the earth as an electronic medium, with all elements, projectors, cameras, editorial capability, all being digital devices, and the medium itself beamed to everywhere via satellite and internet broadband. I can remember 30 years ago when I was invited to discuss movies with a generation of Spanish film directors, and I spoke about electronic editing and new developments in cameras and projectors. And one young filmmaker raised his hand and said, "We here in Spain just managed to get an Aeroflex to work with, and now you're telling us that we're going to still be behind." Of course, this good news about this continual technical development is that the price keeps falling, and everyone now can have a digital camera in their hands. At the same time, the medium is undergoing change in the nature of screenwriting itself, exploring new techniques of the basics: point of view, narrative style, stream of consciousness, and a new combination of documentary and fiction films. Beyond that, there is live cinema, networked cinema, and virtual reality cinema, which will give filmmakers and the artists a chance to experiment with those new frontiers of the information age. And the results, and ultimately the cinema literature our great-grandchildren will create, will be as different from what we can do now as can be, but is in fact always an extension of it. This is a real thrill of the human species, that each generation children can run faster, leap higher, play musical instruments with uncanny technical excellence, and dream bigger, newer cinematic expressions that we can even guess at. Something I noticed the other night during the excitement of this Asturias honor was the assumption that a filmmaker and the fame it brings is capable of using the cinema to solve the problems of the world. In my own land, Italy, it's thought that now I have the power to reverse the indignity and injustice that southern Italy has suffered, the land, by the way, of Pythagoras. Or even here during the banquet in Asturias, that it was said that maybe now I have the power to influence the many horrors and injustice that our world still suffers, that I'm in a position to solve the many difficulties in the Middle East which grew out of deceptions performed during the First World War. Magari, oh, that would be so. But unfortunately, such power is not mine. The cinema may one day be able to perform such miracles, but for the time being, it is like Prometheus, bound by the chains of commerciality, controlled and neutralized in the name of risk-free profits. And so I stand before you less the knight errant of the woeful-faced Don Quixote de la Mancha. I'm more his squire, Sancho, wanting only not to be continually tossed in blankets and whipped by the strange opponents this master of mine keeps tangling with, but just to take care of my donkey and maybe have a good meal. However, as Sancho Panza noted, when good fortune comes knocking at the door, hurry up and let her in. And on the subject of prizes, in the words of Cervantes, you should try to win second prize, because the first prize is always a personal favor for recognition of the poet's social status. The second prize is won on pure merit, and the third prize is really the second prize, just as happened with university degrees. But in spite of this, first does cut a fine figure, and so for that, I thank you most humbly.